this video, we're going to talk about how relationships look like when we're coming from trauma, and how do they look like when we are coming from our authentic and integrated and healed, more or less, self. And what do we mean by healed self? Like, isn't healing a never-ending process? Well, actually, is it really healing, or is it an integrative process? We're going to look into those together. So let's look at how, when we're coming from trauma, how relationships look like within ourselves and others. Yeah, I'm sorry about the sound. I hope it's not very distracting. But I really want to do this video, so please bear with me. So there's construction happening outside. We're in Athens, Greece here. So yeah, what can we do? Can't control everything. We need to make a choice, and I'm choosing to create this video for you. I love doing it anyway, so here we are. So yeah, and so relationships coming from trauma. First of all, it seems as if we have no control over the instant, attraction. Whether it is something that we could call falling in love, and I'm quoting it for a reason, and I'll explain later. I hope I don't forget. Whether it's coming from a place of infatuation where it's just momentary, we just feel something and then poof, like a balloon, it just deflates and it's done, it's gone. So there's a lot of those hocus pocus stuff, this is if we're really like an enthusiastic, perhaps, personality, or if we're more almost suspicious and maybe avoidant, right? We might be like, it looks too good to be true, I won't open up. And there's a lot of like, I would say mental, there's a mental approach to what is being experienced, a mental filtering through the, various films somebody has of their narrative. And there's a very exaggerated emotional charge that, so depending on our attachment styles, people tend to experience it as something outwardly, and I want to experience it, or it's too much, and maybe I don't want to experience it, or it's too much because I want to experience, or it's too much, and, be aware. Let's stay away. And so these kind of relationships tend to be the ones that we will project our unhealed wounds of our family, and they will do the same to us. So basically, what we fell for was exactly what we are actually going to separate for, if that makes any sense. It's just that it's kind of masked at the beginning. That's why we always seem to be surprised, like, oh my God, we fell out of love. But in reality, it wasn't really that. It was that we actually used each other, which sound a bit triggering. We use each other so that we can actually maybe heal. And then, because it's not certain that we're going to heal if we don't choose to. We might recreate it with the next connection, next relationship, next one after that, So we use each other to maybe heal, but what we do for sure is we use each other to fill up our void. And therefore, if we're using each other to fill up all those voids of no self-love that we have not yet given ourselves, then we're also using each other as an excuse to blame and shame and project whatever has hurt us from not loving ourselves, that we were expecting from our caregivers to give us. We're expecting it from them. Didn't get it, because we shouldn't have in the first place, right? It wouldn't be loving if they gave it to us when we ourselves do not know how to give it to ourselves. Because if somebody were to give us something we do not know how to give ourselves, then then we're actually really dependent on them, right? And if they leave, they take that with them. They don't leave it behind, because it was never ours to begin with. So we need to cultivate those, that connection, the deep connection within ourselves in those places where we are absent. Those, kind of, they're like holes or void of unlove, right? Love has not gone in yet, because we haven't wanted to discover those parts of ourselves. And so we tend to get attracted, infatuated by people that will look very promising, that, they were the missing piece of our lives, right? Because all of a sudden we feel whole. So we feel whole momentarily, and then when they leave, we feel total loss and despair. And this part of the process, which actually gets us to the grieving process, brings us, face to face with the reality that we have been avoiding until the moment we face it, which is what? That this part of ourselves is not hurting now. It was hurting before. We have been absent from ourselves before. We're just actually observing it now when that person left. And now we have a choice again to either go and love those parts of ourselves and be present with this pain to grow through and from it, or again, patch it up, numb it, and wait for time and go and find the next person that will mirror that wound again, because we haven't integrated it yet. So why I quoted falling in love before is because these are trauma bonds, and to fall in love with a person deeply and truthfully would mean to actually know how to fall in love with ourselves. And in order to do that, we would need to actually fall in love with wanting to get to know those undiscovered parts of ourselves, those hidden parts of ourselves, those shadow aspects of ourselves that most of us find extremely challenging, because to fall in love with ourselves means to actually, be curious about those wounded parts of ourselves, and not to just wait for people to come and poke their finger, in our wounds, metaphorically speaking, of course, and then remember that we have a wound and then react, you know what I mean? But to actually commit to wanting, through the mirror of our external world, to just use the outer world as a beautiful reflection, what we like, what we don't like, and look inside. The faster we're able to do that, or the more we find this interesting, the faster we start to fall in love with ourselves. And of course, this needs a level of self-mastery. That means that we've also are able to more and more go to those places that are wounded and know how to really soothe them, and also fill up, right, that cauldron of ours, that those parts of ourselves that are needing all the love from all the wrong places from our outer world. Now we know how to fill it up with our presence and our love. And when we get to that place, now this is a more interesting place, because we are able to even, at the most simple things, like to just eat something, feel the sensations, feel the moment by moment presence. And that is just, in itself, it's just a process of deep connection, to be able to feel embodied in the here and now. And be deeply connected with the cells in our body so profoundly, being more interested in feeling anything, everything, without making it right or wrong, but just feeling, period. Either it being negative or positive, that has, the same value. Not really wanting to chase the positive and, suppress and reject the negative, rather feeling through whatever is in the moment. This is a place where falling in love with ourselves is possible, because now this process is more or less unconditional, since we are open to connecting with those parts of ourselves that until now we have been conditional with, we have not wanted to know. And now this version of ourselves is the one that has at the core. So this is a subjective perspective, and see if this resonates with you. However, I feel that we are ready to create profound relationships and connections with our people and our significant other, specific person, twin flame, soulmate, whatever it is you're looking for, right? We are ready for this deep connection when we are, through our triggers, we now have curiosity and this willingness, this wanting, this yearning to go and connect with ourselves more than ever before. Because whereas before we had an excuse to disconnect, so that would make us a not so good match for the relationship our soul and heart has been yearning for. When we use triggers as an opportunity to give ourselves more love with a little bit of even excitement, even if it's painful, we have actually shifted from whatever has been, traumatic experience within relationships to a fulfilling experience within relationship to ourselves first, and then with others. So whereas here we avoid ourselves, we project, we suppress, we resist, we're in survival mode, here we're in growth mode. And here, it's not that we have healed all our traumas. However, we perceive what is wounding us here as an opportunity to connect, whereas here we find it as an excuse to disconnect. And this is why here, the version of ourselves here on this, level of awareness cannot attract the relationship we're wanting, because we are not that yet. Whereas here, our shadow is not threatening to us. It's more something that we're wanting to discover, we're wanting to connect with. Here, we're not wanting. So here, we're half. We're not embodying the yin and yang, the darkness and the light. Here, we're wanting both. Here, we're just wanting the light, not the darkness. Here, we're wanting both equally, more or less. Which means that the relationship we have with ourselves here, we will have with another when they show us their darkness. We won't want them anymore. And when we unveil our darkness to them, they won't want us. Whereas on this version of ourselves, there's empathy, compassion, and deep presence, because now I'm more or less wanting to get to know you the way you are, because I'm wanting to get to know me the way I am, whether it's darkness, shadow, self, or light, integrated self. So I would like to make this, to end this video here, I want to tell you that my name is Mado. I'm the founder of Awakening Games, and I will be creating amazing games courses that I will be posting in the description box here. And so if you're wanting anything specific, please let me know what course you want. I will be creating the course on fulfilling life through boundaries, right? How do we fulfill our needs and wants, basically, and through our interconnection with others, to be interdependent, right? And it's going to be a course on boundaries, so I'll be posting it in the description box underneath soon. And whatever courses I'll be posting in the description box, so you can actually choose which one it is that you're wanting to grow through and from. See you on the next video.